Handy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go. So it's 5-minute countdown. Show's gone live. Just let everybody know and give everybody else a chance to possibly see us. At some point, I'll work out how to do other things there, but
that's okay. Just to let you know, the YouTube was just caught up, so that's all good.
Woohoo! And if the other person doesn't come in, I'll have to just change it very quickly.
Yeah, so Taylor should be coming soon.
Okay.
But that's perfectly fine because I've got one set up ready for 5 people, not 6.
Has it got the right font for Rob on it? Because if so, we don't.
Probably not.
I think I need my own font, Stu.
I think you need your own font, Rob. Yeah, I'll work that up for next time.
Yeah, I think it's just become part of my rider.
Yeah,
my own font.
My own font.
How long do you think we'll be on for?
That is the most excellent question. That'll all depend on A, how much you talk, B, how many questions there are, and C, how much you talk.
Nice.
Or also how much I talk, because I can talk.
Yeah, there's that as well.
But it's not going to be hugely long here, Andy, but we don't. The natural length always varies a bit.
Well, look, I can assure you there's nothing I enjoy more than the sound of my own voice, so I'm easy.
Perfect.
Yeah. As soon as we finish, I'll be watching this again.
Perfect.
You think I'm joking as well?
I was going to say, the sad thing is people might think you're not serious.
But you're at. Okay, yep. Chat's just gone live.
I have a
Taylor says he's trying the link now.
Is he?
Can't believe Taylor's left everything to the last minute. Bizarre.
No one would. Guy, I hope no one can hear us. The green room.
Matthew.
Oh,
hello.
Dom's already online.
Of course, Dom's online. Hello,
Can you guys hear me?
We
Yeah, we
hear
can.
you. We cannot see you. Well, not yet, anyway.
Why not?
You need to grant permission to your camera and.
What browser are you using?
What browser are you using?
Safari. I'm on an iPad.
Oh, Safari should be okay. But we haven't had many people join from iPad, so Chrome? Oh no, it's an iPad.
I thought Pete had joined from his iPad, or was it his laptop?
Well, Pete has joined from his iPad successfully in the past. You're quite correct. So we should be okay, actually.
So that might be an Apple's permissions thing, my friend.
Yeah, that sounds like a good bet.
Let's see what I can find.
One minute and 18 seconds, no pressure.
Yeah. I say, I hope this doesn't last too long tonight because I should have used the little boys' room before we started this.
Okay, and if you're listening to the countdown, this show could have an interesting interruption in it.
Isn't that the way that you stay on point in meetings, though, to do that?
Yeah, it is.
Go nose down.
Quick, Stu, replace yourself with an avatar.
Yeah. Come on, Matthew. I believe in you. I know you can do this. 23 seconds.
Yeah, I won't be done by then.
No pressure.
Wish we had the countdown music.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I should have the countdown music.
Just a bit too soon. Do-do, do-do, do-do-do-do. Bing! There we go.
Hey.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to LARPBook Live. Today we have the wonderful crew from Gritlands. So that's Andy, say hi. Kate,
Hello.
say hi. Dale, say hi. And eventually, when Matthew comes on, say hi. So hopefully I'll just put his name there. So that floating head there, that is Matthew.
Uncannily representative.
It's right on point, is it? Well, welcome all, and thank you very much for joining the show today. So I unfortunately didn't get to go along to Gritlands, but I know Rob did. And Rob, your name has moved yet again. Every single time I add somebody in, your name moves.
That's just on his t-shirt.
My name is Pure Anarchy. But no, my name is Rob actually, but the Rob bit is moving, so Pure Anarchy.
So there we go. And a different font. I'll work that out next time. Right. Okay. So we're here today to talk about Gritlands. Now, Rob, I know you actually went to one of the games, if I'm correct.
I went to the last game.
Fantastic. So I think you should probably start off with some of the things that you experienced along the way, and then we can start answering any questions. Also, if you have any questions, obviously put them in the chat and we'll get around to them a little bit later on in the show.
Yeah, so please post questions. Okay, what I want to say, well, actually there's loads to say about the last game, but I'm going to bring the Gritlands crew in. But first of all, console is evil. It's an evil site, but I absolutely adored the game. Andy, okay, Dale, you took me back to my misspent use of reading too much 2000 AD, and it's something you said before about Gritlands, and I was going, can I do that? Yeah, it really does. It's fun. It's manic. It's anarchic. And there is an awful lot going on with it, and the players are getting up to an awful lot. So I absolutely adored it. It was one of the most fun things I've done LARPing in ages, and we'll try to break down a bit later on after why it's fun and what makes it a bit special and a bit different. But I'm just going to kick off with saying this was one of the most. I had an issue with my health, and I couldn't do the whole of the Sunday, so I want to apologise to everybody for that. But at the same time, it was just fantastic, and I'm hopefully going to have a load of cool photos coming out in not too distant. So, Stuart.
Yes.
Stuart, why don't we bring in sort of Andy, Kate, and Dale and explain a little bit to people who don't know much about Gritlands, a little bit what it's all about, and then we can start.
100%. I was just turning off my phone, and I remembered that's probably a good idea to turn off my phone. Because it's always at this point that my dad will call, "Oh, son, I can't get the TV to work." Right, okie dokie. So I think probably the best thing we can do right now is to go around the table a little bit, as they say, right, or around the screen. Although this is feeling a lot like the Brady Bunch, just saying, or Celebrity Squares. Yeah.
We open into the market, just saying.
So I think if we start with Andy, Andy, what is your role in the show, as it were?
So I'm part of the inner circle at Gritlands. That's the 6 people who run the game. When we get to events, I'll let this table. When we get to events, so I'm involved in sort of running the game when we go live. So being in the sort of game running hut, going out and deploying props on site, and wrangling monsters and chasing people around and making sure we attach lammies to the right things, that kind of thing. And then also I drive the van and carry all the stuff.
Oh, look, Rob, your name's gone up where it is again. Sorry. This is comedy gold. This is absolutely great. There we go. Okay, right. Thank you very much for that, Andy. Kate, what's your role in this chaos, that madness that is Gritlands?
So I tend to run God when we're on site. So I'm there kind of the first protocol liaison for players. So they come and get their player character packs from me. And I do an awful lot of logistics work during the weekend. So I do kind of things to do with crew, things to do with players in terms of where people need to be when, where kind of meals need to be in catering, anything going off site to go grab stuff. Then I tend to be the person doing that. And I'm probably of the people that are on the team the least experienced in terms of any LARP games. So I also tend to bring a kind of a point of view of I don't understand that. What does that mean? Where is that kind of thing? So a kind of eyes-on perspective of where things are going to be, but also a bit of a practical. I don't know if that works, or yeah, I actually think we're going to be able to do that, and that makes sense to me, kind of thing. So a bit more of a, if somebody was fairly new to it, what would their point of view be?
Oh no, brilliant! And I think probably a few systems could take note of that. To be honest with you, over the years that we've gone to. So thank you very much. Dale, what is your part in this shenanigans?
Well, at the events, it's mostly just panicking and sort of stressing out and writing all the stuff I should have written before we got to the event. But beforehand, it's trying to write plot. I've been involved in sort of a lot of the sort of setting up the setting and coming up with parts of the world and stuff, and then throwing stuff into the pot and seeing what bubbles up along with Matthew. I'm going to throw the ball to straight away.
Fantastic. So, Matthew, what role do you play in? And I'm trying to come up with other things to say now in this craziness that is Gritlands.
So similar to Dale, at event I'm panicking and trying to produce the stuff that should have been done in the weeks preceding. Responsible for a certain subset of the plot around sort of logistics and treasure, I'll put it that way, and a little bit of oversight from a mechanical point of view, although that obviously is a group discussion, but I'm trying to keep the broad picture of all of the mechanics together in one place.
Nice, excellent. So a good mix of different skill sets there, I presume, to try and keep all of that together. And I understand that now. I know Andy, you, myself, Rob. We had a chat before Rob actually managed to get to Gritlands and things like that, and we were discussing some of the ways in which I feel the way you do the game is a lot different to perhaps any other games that I certainly have played. Certainly in things like mechanics, where you don't need to have an awful lot of refs.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that.
I think you answered yourself. Yeah, that's right. He's right.
So there's so if you've LARPed for a long time, you'll have invariably come across a situation where there is a part of the game on site that you want to be able to interact with, and the only way you're able to interact with that thing is if there is a referee standing there to tell you what to do, because your ancient magical shrine might have some really cool game effects, but without a referee to explain those game effects to you or to interpret your actions in the context of those game mechanics, that's the only real interaction you can have. So you tend to find situations where you'll creep to the woods and you'll find the magical ancient shrine, but you can't interact with it because there's no referee there. So you have to sneak back, and that's invariably when you get murdered by the monsters. So one of the things that we very much wanted to do was to create as free form and as sandbox an environment as possible for people to interact in. So what we've done is we have a system of tag cards, which are basically put on anything from the game world that you can do an interaction with. And you can look at those cards and it explains to you any game's mechanics that govern that interaction. And it's they can be very simple. If you've got the scout skill, spend a minute role playing, and you can tell that. And turn to the next card, and you'll get your results. Whereas if you have something like a computer to hack into, or a set of holographic filing cabinets up a hill in some woods, then there will be a chonking great deck of cards associated with that you can go through almost like a choose your own adventure book as you do game interactions to try and work your way through those tasks to get to a goal that you don't know about it because it's in that deck of cards. And that's our mechanism for allowing people to do, even though a referee isn't present.
Yeah, which works really well.
And when you explained that to us before, I really loved that idea, the sheer fact that number one, you don't have to have a load of people in high vis vests in that respect. Having to be around before something can be interacted with. So that must make that game flow then so much more organic than what I certainly have seen in the past from other systems where we've played at. So. Kudos to
observation.
The brains behind that in that respect. So I think that's really fantastic.
Means we're doing a lot of laminating on a Friday morning.
Not laminating, yeah.
Yeah, I can, and want of course you say you, Andy. You actually mean Kate, right?
Everyone, anyone who happens to be there at the time, including crew members who turn up early, they get deployed into being a lamination team. We have a whole series of people that are on a conveyor belt of laminating as we go through. So yeah, it's everyone that gets pulled in.
Oh, bless.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I wonder if we can just do something for the people who are watching who... I think Dom just confirmed that everyone does laminating, so thank you, Dom. If we can just confirm a little bit to play anybody watching who hasn't run into Gritland yet, a little bit about the sort of backstory and a little bit about the kind of things that players get up to. Just to give people an idea, I mean, I didn't really give much away when I spoke earlier. So, who would like to kick off with what's the overarching idea and what kind of things do players do?
Dale, do you want to talk about the setting?
Sure, I can give it a go. So the setting of Gritlands is Earth, 200 years in the future. Everything's gone really down the drain. Really, it's a whole load of various unpleasant things. The world is effectively ended in a reversible way. But unlike other settings where we have post-apocalyptic sort of settings, we've gone for a more varied, holistic approach. It's a holistic apocalypse where many contributing factors, such as switch to the euro or kind of lettuce that was being stocked in B&M has all come to a head and caused just a collapse of mainstream society. So players find themselves representing members of a effectively formalized looting team set up by some of the surviving factions that are last bastions of humanity, people pretending to be knights, a bunch of people who really misunderstood the lessons of the 80s, a bunch of people who religiously worship EastEnders and various other enjoyable and lovable groups. And they, in this role, they go to places where people tend to die a lot and hope they don't die as much and get some really exciting stuff out of it. I think that covers most of it. I think there's some other stuff in there around pandas and holograms and stuff, but I think it'll do a good start.
Reasonable.
Okay. Yeah, it's very simple.
Very simple.
It's a solid overview of the kind of absurdity. And I think one of the things that's to a certain extent, Gritlands is a remarkably serious game. The things that players are doing in character are absolutely deadly serious to them and to their communities, and in terms of what they want to achieve in the wider world, all deadly serious. But layered across the top of that is a thick paste of absolute absurdity and it's the kind of juxtaposition between those two things that make it ridiculous. It's the kind of the idea that you're collectively going into the rad zone full of terrifying murder bots to retrieve a valuable cultural relic, which is important to the survival of your particular sort of brand of humanity. And obviously, that relic is the dwarf from a red phone box. So, deadly, but also absurd.
I think Dom's getting onto the absurdity level because we've got a few messages coming in. We've got another question coming in that's coming as well. We'll absolutely get round to that. Dom's mentioning dinosaurs and deadly dinosaurs. Now, as for shooting the game, I absolutely love the dinosaurs, which did not start off at all deadly. It started off teaching the players to spell and count. If you can imagine Barney the dinosaur, the velociraptor, you're about there.
That's pretty good. To contextualize some of the things. So at G4, which is the event just gone, the players were visiting a site which was in the pre-apocalypse times, a holographic park, like a holographic Madame Tussauds, where you could go there and you could take your children to watch, I don't know, Hitler arm wrestling Churchill or whatever, and have a lovely day out. Obviously, since the sort of known society has ended, it's all a bit murkier now. The equipment that runs the park doesn't function particularly well, and the site has been taken over by a religious group called the Penitent Watchers. Pilgrims come from far and around to come to this place where they can seek the wisdom of the ancients. And sometimes they arrive, get looked after by the Penitent Watchers. They go into the woods, they meet, hologram Gandhi, who gives them some great wisdom about how to live a more bountiful life. And sometimes they just get ripped to bits by angry wraiths. So that was the sort of the setup for the players at G4 to go there to try and retrieve various bits of cool technology that will help their societies thrive.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
that's one of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean, I generally do. I love the concepts. I will be coming along to one, when things settle down here. But yes, absolutely. So, is there anything else, right? That perhaps Kate, Dale, Matthew, anything that you, as your experience as you've been doing this, that have thought to yourself, wow, what's been the wow factor for you? Let's start with Kate.
So I would say I absolutely adore how much the players commit to their roles and embrace kind of the setting. To an extent, it's a little bit curated because we ask people to submit character concepts, and our clan commands go through all of those and make sure that things meet and gel and fit with the setting. But just how much people commit to it, both from a point of view of the look and feel of what they bring, but also the style, the way they embrace things, the things that they do. This game wouldn't be what it is without the commitment of the people that come. And it's just somebody, for me, I love it because often we open God at a point where people have kind of got in, they've got settled, but they're in character. So they walk into God fully in their kit, and they give me their character name as well. And I just love it. I absolutely love it. Like just the commitment that they show, and that adds a lot to the look and feel. And the different clans are so different, but you can walk into one space and you can see immediately who someone is and where they fit. And that's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Cool. Matthew.
So I agree with everything Kate said, but in order to give a slightly different answer, I'll focus on the different aspects of the game. For me, it's when the players put the puzzle together and get going with the thing. Because, as you mentioned, there are all these tags and tasks out there. There's a lot of content that is out there. But it's a sandbox. It's there to go and find. And there comes a point where all of the different strands that have been put there start to come together, and the players suddenly clock what's happening. Might only be one or two of them, but those individuals in there, when you see it click, and all of a sudden they're right, we've got to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and the whole thing starts really running, and you can sit back and go, oh, it worked, we put the right stuff in, the clues were there, the puzzles followed sequentially. When all of that kicks off and everything we prepared meets everything the players were doing in a way where you can see that happening, I think for me that's particularly good when you get to see it.
I understand when you see that light bulb moment come over their head and you go, oh yeah. You know you've put in the right amount of effort then, where it's not too easy and it's not too hard.
Yes, it's kind of exactly that.
Yeah, absolutely. Dale, what's your wow moment, my friend?
I'm going to be ridiculous. It's sort of I agree with everything Matthew said as well, just so people don't get me. But I'm going to sort of turn it around and say that I really find it amazing. Our crew, the NPCs, the monsters, everything that when we put them out, we've sometimes given them like the most shoestring plot, like I don't know, you're a bunch of 80s yuppies and you don't really understand what money is. Please just go and make trouble in the camp for 20 minutes while we sort of catch up. So not to show people too much behind the curtain, but our extremely strenuous plot writing procedure. But we really do ask them sometimes to take on briefs and fight in ways and have certain rules and restrictions around them, because we're very sort of dedicated to making our enemies and stuff feel unique and let players sort of build up understanding around how they behave and stuff and what their weaknesses are. And they've just always been fantastic in blending not only that mechanical complexity but also making it funny and making players sort of write in their feedback, I really loved X, I really loved Y. So big shout out to all the crew. Fantastic guys and gals.
Fantastic. Andy, your wow moment, my friend.
So I'm going to go super specific. So one of the things that we do at Gritlands is everybody can go into the hot zone, which is the sort of danger zone part of the event. But whenever you go into the hot zone, you have some sort of timer. So you can be in the zone for X amount of time before terrible things start happening to you. So, and again, that's something that players largely sort of self-ref on, and most of them have got, like 4 or 5 stopwatches at any one given time. So when you go into there, you're on a sort of a finite timer. And then when you come out, there's a cool-down time before you can go back in. And really, it's a nice way of making sure that everyone gets a slice of the fun. But it creates some really tense, some really exciting sort of role-playing moments. So at the sort of G4, one of the things that players could go and interact with were particularly powerful holograms for reasons that I won't go into. But you could go and interact with them, and they could basically ask you to do stuff for them. So we had a room set up at the top of the hill at Console, which was effectively like a sort of a green screen room. Obviously, the technology was broken; it was just green all the time. So the players could go in there, and I was reffing out on the plateau, and the sort of the room was available. And the group of players, they came up onto the plateau, they sort of poked around at some of the shrines, and then they kind of noticed that the door was open, and some fella in a pinstripe suit was waving at them. So I kind of went over and invited them in and sat them down. And then obviously I shut the door. And there was no way for them to open the door. The only way they could open the door was when the guy had finished talking to them. So he then began this sort of interview process, and it was a friend of ours called Tom, sort of NPCing, and he absolutely nailed it, because they're obviously on a timer, on a bit of a stopwatch, and he just made it take as long as possible. So they all sat down. And he went to have a glass of water, and one of them interrupted him, and Tom literally just put his hand up like that, and then slowly drank the entire glass of water, and then slowly got his briefcase out and started slowly getting things out of it and arranging it on the desk. And you could it was just an uncomfortable atmosphere, because everyone's like down.
Everyone's going.
Yeah, and then he starts asking them questions. really long and elaborate questions. They're like trying to smash out these like one-word answers to kind of like chew through it. And then outside, you've got the rest of their party who are largely being chased around by wraiths and pandas, like running back past the door because they've got a big glass door on the front of this room. Like every couple of minutes, going, "Oh my god, you've only got 4 minutes left!" And and for me, it's the individual moments like that we get where the constraints on the game build tension, build excitement. And the nice thing is, so sometimes when you go to a LARP, and I should make it very clear, there is no one true way of doing LARP. There's many different ways of doing LARP, and they're all fun. But for our one, sometimes if event runners have got a cool scene in mind, what they'll want to do is make sure that everyone at the event gets to experience that cool thing and gets to experience that scene. So there's a degree of artificially making sure that everyone gets to go through whatever that thing is. And at Gritlands, we don't do that. If we've got a cool scene planned and only 3 people see it, brilliant. If we've got a cool scene planned and no one sees it, that's also brilliant. It's we're not compelled to go back and make it run again and again and again. And I think having those unique moments that people can enjoy and talk about and stuff is great.
Yeah, and I think that can be said for a lot of truly great scenes, let's call them, within LARPs. Yeah, sometimes Rob and I know from when we used to participate and run Fear of the Dark games, which we used to do years and years and years ago, modern day horror stuff, right? It might be that one character that's interacted with this whole scene that was epic, but we didn't care because it was epic. Yeah. In that respect. So I completely understand where you are coming from on that. So fantastic. Have we got any other things to talk about? There are a few questions. Should we actually sort of get to those for the time being?
Let's try some of the questions. There's a load of cool comments in here as well, but let's try a question or two.
Let's go to a question. So this one is from Joel. Let's see if I can actually get that up onto the screen. I should be able to. There was a way of doing that. There it is. Bosh. In orange, so you can't see it. Well done. Right. Right. Not sure the crew are taking questions, but does each person have one tip for someone attending a first ever LARP Fest event? And that's from Joel. Right. Who wants to take that one? Hands up. Kate, go for it.
Kate does. Go for Kate.
So I would say it's that whole get involved and don't believe that everybody knows an awful lot more than you do. So everybody is there to role play and everybody's there to role play with other people. So you don't coming into it for the first time. There's a big worry sometimes that everybody else seems to know it all and kind of enjoys it all, and nobody will want to talk to you because you're new and you don't know anything. And that's absolutely not true. So loads of people will be helpful. Loads of people will be too helpful. So again, don't worry of just walking away from someone, but just get stuck in and ask people. And if you kind of use a set phrase of being, I'm new here, can you tell me about X?
Yeah.
Everybody gets the context and no one is going to grill you on your backstory or where you come from or anything like that, because people just want everyone to have a fun time because that makes their whole experience a lot better.
Yeah, and I think that's valid for like just absolutely anywhere in life, to be honest with you. If you're new somewhere, say hi, new year, and what have you. Anybody else want to add to that? Go on, Andy.
Andy, yep.
I mean, I was obviously going to say the thing that Kate said, so I'm going to have to think of a different thing. My advice to someone going to a good fest event, going to a fest event for the first time, no one cares about your background. It sounds really brutal, but one of the certainly larger scale LARP events, things that happen in your character's personal backstory, doesn't matter. The only thing it informs is about what you are as a character. The important things about the game are the things that happen at the event, the interactions that you have with other players at the event. Those are the important things. So you can write 10,000 pages of background if you want, and if it helps you get into character and find your place in the world, brilliant. But temper your expectations. Very few people are going to want to hear about that and understand that, especially if you just download it to them. What people are interested in doing is what's happening at the event and what you're doing at the event and the interactions you're having. That would be my advice.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. Anyone else got anything to add? Go on, Dale.
I'd say when you extending on from what Andy said is that when you're writing your background, like I said, it's really helpful to get you in this headspace. Try and write a background that makes it easier for you to get those interactions in the field. I know it's sort of doubling down it, but sometimes in my experience, I've found people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have this character, and it's gonna be really withdrawn and unapproachable and dark and brooding," and it's like, "Oh, that's great," but then you're not going to be able to talk to anybody because it's much easier. People who have characters who are willing to help other people and outgoing and really want to lock in with the levers being put in front of you are going to have a much better time. And then my other sort of bit of advice is if a lot of big fest LARPs do have really, really good crewing opportunities. So if you've learned the rules and you've got a good understanding of the background, going and spending a few events sort of contributing and getting, because I got my start in Festival LARP monitoring at Empire for 10 years, and it's just a fantastic way to learn cool hard skills and have a good time and get fed for it as well. So that's always a good opportunity.
Yeah. I do agree with that. And as you say, writing the sort of character you want to play as well, be aware of what you want to play. Saying that that it's moody and withdrawn, and then going into the camp going hiya is kind of that doesn't work very well in that respect. So do be aware of, even though it sounds really cool on paper, can you actually pull it off? Because that's the other thing. Yeah, fantastic. Matthew, got anything to add to that at all?
Yeah, I think ask a lot of questions, volunteer to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're ever going to really get to know the game. It's
Bang
those
on.
two things.
Yeah, bang on, and that's certainly something that we've done. I do have another question, which I think is more sort of at you, Andy, more than anything else. Why does Andy, the biggest game team member, simply not devour the smaller game team members?
It may stagger you. It may stagger you to know this, but I can't do everything. So it's important to have people you can work with and trust to run a great game with. So that's the only reason that I haven't devoured the other game team members.
Yeah, sounds fair. One from Dom, just more a comment. The crew are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And one from JT. Who's Mega?
So our relationship with Megacorp has been long and fruitful, and they're a great sponsor for our events, and I think we'd like that to continue for the future.
Nice, absolutely.
Okay, it's Megacorp.
Maybe one day we'll be able to probably talk a little bit more about Megacorp.
Maybe.
Well, we could be more accurate, of course, as well, and we could say that Megacorp obviously is the British, the British hegemony's munitions, energy, genetics, and automation corporation, which was formed in response to the spectre of privatisation across much of the government in decline, and they still sponsor lots of good opportunities and have lots of employment opportunities for ballistic testers. and other roles. So please check out their DataSphere site. Links in the description.
I'm sure the link will be in the description at the end of the video. Or when Rob pushes this properly to somewhere.
There you go. Yeah. All links will end up in the description, so it's okay. It doesn't work.
Yeah, there we go. So we do have one, I don't know, from this really random weird guy called Weekend Heroes. I don't know who he is. Where is G5 going to be? Do we know yet?
I don't know if we're allowed to say.
Well, we're yet to confirm the site for G5. We're hoping it will be confirmed in the next week or so. It should be. I think we'll just tell people we're planning to use Gloucester Prison for the next one. It's a great site. It's got a lot of potential. We can run some good Gritlands there. So
Cool.
it'll be mid-October.
Cool. I have a couple. I got one from. I really should have put my glasses on before I actually started this. Foxel Fox, I think. Yeah, there we go.
Fox.
Yeah, Fox, that one. Hi guys, went to my first ever Gritlands. I've been LARPing for over 10 years. It was honestly my best first event in a LARP ever. So that's high praise indeed. But Richard does have a question for you. How long does it take to create what will happen at an event, from initial planning of encounters to the point when you feel it is ready? I think I know the when you feel it is ready bit.
The answer is approximately 2.5 weeks longer than we have between when we start planning and when the event happens. That is the.
I think it would be good to talk about our in-between event process, though. So
Sure.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want me to talk a little bit about timelines?
Yeah.
So what we try to do is post-event. So I'll go from post-event. Post-event, we do a debrief with each of the various different parts of the game. So we'll do a game team debrief, we do a ref debrief, and we do a clan command debrief. We also elicit feedback from the players as part of that process, so we can get all of that together and we can discuss it and understand how we could have done differently, might be do things that are better, take on board what people liked, what think people kind of want to do, and understand how that will fit in. We have a kind of overarching aspects that run from kind of game to game, and then we have specific game pieces that we will, once we've done all those debriefs, set a time for what's called a plot lock. So that's when we have the plot that's pretty much kind of nailed down. And then from then on, because we've got the bigger plot elements kind of set, people will start working on individual pieces and then also other things that might come into those. So we have a plot weekend and then we have a plot lock. And then from then, we expect people to build out the props and things that they might need for those plots and things that need to be supported, and then how those plots will fit in. As part of that, we also have a timeline, and that all broadly comes together, if we can do, about 8 weeks before the event. And from then on, we start working through, how do we realise this? What can we do? How do we make it real? And then that runs through all the way to midday Saturday on the event, I would say.
and probably a few hours into the event as well, I expect. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, like I say, I often think that people don't realize how much work actually goes into doing some, well, in any event like this, right? The amount of work is absolutely staggering. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, so we do a call every Thursday night, a sort of inner circle call where we'll get together, talk about aspects of the game, games mechanics that we want to review and change, boring logistical things around how many toilets and how we're going to get there, but also about what the plots are, what the narrative outcomes of previous events are, what we're going to have the next thing. It's it's exciting.
Yeah.
And then, typically we'll usually spend a weekend doing a site walk, because if we can use a site we've not used before, and we try and use a different site for every event, we'll spend a weekend doing a site walk. and then we'll also have a plot weekend where we'll get together. We'll usually get some giant A1 maps of the site, and we'll try and plot out where we want various different things to take place. And because of the sort of tags and task system, anywhere where you've got plots that intersect and overlap, you need to make sure you're not creating any conflicts in your sort of task decks, and that kind of thing. So it is a shitload of work, but ultimately we do it because we enjoy doing it. We enjoy running LARP.
No problem. Have you got time for one more question? Rob. Yeah.
Keep going as long as you like. We're relentless.
Right. One more question then. How do you keep the hot zone running for the entirety of time in? It seems like a huge undertaking. It was just
and his eyes boggling. I think there's a lot.
I mean, it is. So interestingly, one of the differences between G4 was at console, which is obviously an open field site, even though most of it's ravines and brambles and death. The three before that have all been at urban style sites. And one of the great things you can do at an urban style site is you can effectively close off parts of the site behind a barrier. And it can be an in-character barrier that the players need to do X, Y, and Z in order to get through. And that's harder to do at a greenfield site. So historically, if I talk about G3 as an example, so at G3 we ran at HQ Airsoft up at Driffield in the frozen north, which is a great site. It's an old RAF base. There's over 100 ruined buildings. What we did is we completely sealed several of the buildings that were effectively special locations. And there was a thing that the players needed to do to be able to access those locations. But there was a load of tasks they had to do, some physical activities they had to do, and eventually you could activate the building. And from the point you activated, you then was half an hour before you could access it. And realistically, that's the half an hour it takes us to run all the crew over there, all the crew we need over there, and get them into position. Because everybody loves playing a meat freak at Gritlands, but very few people want to sit in a building dressed as a meat freak for 18 hours on the off chance that someone opens the door.
Yeah. You
need to look after your crew as much as you're looking after your players and make sure that they have a great time.
Yeah.
So each event we have, the hot zone tends to be made up of areas that are open and free roaming, you can go to at any time, and then areas where you need to do a thing before you can get in there and do the thing. So to a certain extent, that's an easier site to run at than console. Whereas console, we had to have everything set up at time in. Whereas at a more urban site, you don't need to set up the mega factory until the players are somewhere close to opening the mega factory. So you have a little bit more flex and a little bit more leeway in terms of your running around before time in.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for the explanation on that. I think we're coming up to about 45 minutes now. I think we've done rather well tonight. Who would like to give details of how they can sort of find the Gritlands, how they get in contact? What's the process of getting involved with it?
Gritlands.co.uk.
Okay.
Thank you, Dale.
And Gritlands, and there's you can also try standing outside your house and screaming Gritlands repeatedly. There's not a non-zero chance that somebody might hear you and know about it, but it'll be less effective than the other approaches.
Right. So gritlands.co.uk. Yeah.
Yeah. You can that should redirect you to we've got a Facebook page and a Facebook group and an Instagram page as well. All we do on the Instagram is post beautiful pictures that have been taken at our events. There's a Facebook page which is largely a signpost to the Facebook group, and in the group is where the sort of the real shenanigans happen. I think the important thing to say though is, so you can't just buy a ticket and come to Gritlands. We've very deliberately set quite a high bar to entry. And it's because all of our players have put a phenomenal amount of effort into their groups, into their look and feel, and to make sure that they're walking in step with the tone and the feel of the game world. So what we ask people to do is to submit their concepts to us so that we can make sure they're okay and make sure they're in step with the rest of the game world before we let folks buy a ticket and come along. So usually before every event, there is a period where players who've played with us before can book. And then once that's expired, we'll take submissions from new people to fill the rest of the tickets. So, but you can send us a potential group submission at any time. So before G4, we had sort of 2 or 3 or 4 group submissions from folks who weren't able to make G4 but were hoping to come along in G5. And it's never too early to get in touch with us and begin that kind of the dialogue to make sure you're going to be on point and on brief. The other thing we do is we've got a list of email addresses where people can contact us to ask questions and that kind of thing. And what we ask people not to do is to contact members of the crew through any kind of messenger. We give people some official communication channels, and we really rather people use those.
Yeah.
So because people's private time is their own time, we don't pay our staff, because then event tickets would be £2,000 each. So
yes, we understand that one more. No, we really do understand that one in that respect. Dale, you got something?
I'm surprised we managed to get all the way through this without saying grimly hilarious once. It's our tagline is that Gritlands is a grimly hilarious post-apocalyptic. Some people say romp, but I think that's a bit tight. We try to. The tone is, if you're wondering whether or not Gritlands is for you, just wonder if you enjoy sort of that sort of grimly hilarious dark humour. You can find a lot of 2000 AD was mentioned, but a lot of stuff from the sort of from that genre of science fiction fantasy really fits. So everything has to be grim and hilarious to be able to get through our extremely strict,
rigorous,
stringent. That's the word. Stringent plot writing process.
I'd also say that it's quintessentially British and sort of 1980s-ish. So therefore, things that are modern 2025 concepts probably won't fit, and something that comes definitely from the US or other geographical areas probably won't fit either. So it is very British.
So put on your British 1980s humour hat, and you'll be ready to go. Got it.
And if you didn't live through it, go and look it up on the internet.
Just as a shout out to the makers of Atomfall, you'll be hearing from our lawyers very soon.
No problem. Right.
We've got your number, Jason. You might be good in a horse, mate, but we'll come for you.
And on that note, I think it's just basically for us to sort of say thank you very much. Andy, Kate, Dale, Matthew for coming along. I've been Stuart. That's been Rob. If you want to go and check out our page, obviously go across to LARPBook.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. I think you can find us on other places, which I can never remember. So just search for LARPBook and I'm sure you will find us. So again, just a big thank you to everybody that's come along today and for letting us know all about Gritlands. Thank you all. Say
Thank
goodbye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you all very much.
Goodbye, everybody.
There it is. Bye.